The 1970s transit bus scene in the USA offered little variety when you compared the standard offerings from GM and Flxible. But in 1974, a new player entered the bus field intending to disrupt the dominance of these two bus builders. This new bus gained a poor reputation, and its manufacturer soon fled the industry. But was it really that bad a bus? This is the story of the AM General Metropolitan, America's third-rate, third-place transit bus. Hi, this is Jeffrey. Now, most of you who are interested in buses are probably very familiar with the GM New Look bus as well as the Flxible New Look bus. These two types of transit buses were very ubiquitous in the US in the 1960s, 1970s, and into the 1980s. However, in the mid-1970s, a third manufacturer, AM General, decided to enter the market. Their new bus, called the Metropolitan, was very lacking quality-wise and gained itself a bad reputation. A few years later, AM General decided to exit the bus building market. But was it because the Metropolitan was such a bad bus? We're going to unravel this mystery. It's a really interesting story, so let's get started in learning about the AM General Metropolitan Transit Bus. The 1970s American transit bus scene was of little variety, mainly either the GM or Flxible New Look buses. Oh sure, there were a few other oddities, but anything outside of these two models were unusual. But in 1974, a new contender, AM General, decided to own a piece of the bus market. The reason AM General, or AMG, wanted in on the US bus market was simple: federal contracts to supply vehicles like it had for the US Post Office and the military. In order to get the needed experience in building buses, AMG turned to Western Flyer of Winnipeg, Canada in 1970, later known as New Flyer Industries, to work out a deal to use their transit bus design as a base for the new vehicle. AMG was not very fond of the Canadian D700A's appearance and set out to redesign it. And then, in 1974, their new bus was finally ready. And what was this new bus called? It was the Metropolitan! AMG's redesign resulted in a bus that you either loved or hated. It was essentially a D700A, but the new design had a complete facelift on its front and rear and everything above the belt rail. In addition, a Detroit diesel engine with a V-drive transmission was installed instead of the T-drive used by Flyer, as GM would not sell the V-drive technology outside the US. This eventually caused cracked frames due to weight distribution, as the bus was structurally designed for a T-drive. And this is why the back end has a larger than normal overhang. The first order of the new AMGs went to the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, and very quickly, defects were found in the new buses. Primary of these was a roof leak at the seams. Officially, it was stated that the use of caulking instead of a rubber sealer was the reason. However, rumors still float to this day that the original AMG buses delivered to Washington had the roof panels overlapping in the wrong direction, thereby allowing water to be forced in by normal driving. Model numbers were based on the width, length, and revision. There were 3 series of AMG buses. The second series were suffixed with an A and the third with a B. There were no visual changes from the first to the second series, as it was mostly mechanical upgrades. However, in the B models, the air conditioner condenser was removed from above the rear window to the left-hand side of the bus in front of the radiator. This eliminated the hump in the rear of the bus, but led to frequent overheating of the buses. In Canada, the bus was known as the D800. AM General was the first manufacturer to get caught up in the then new UMTA, or Urban Mass Transit Administration, requirement that new transit buses had to have a wheelchair lift. This created a design headache as the front end underframe needed to be redesigned to accommodate the required lift. Now, let's take a look at some of the basic specifications of the AM General Metropolitan Transit Bus. Number 1, length is either 35 or 40 feet. Number 2, width is either 96 or 102 inches. Number 3, height is 10 feet 4 inches. Number 4, weight is approximately 27,000 pounds. Number 5, passenger capacity is about 53 seats for the 40-foot version and 45 seats for the 35-foot bus. Number 6, engine is the Detroit Diesel 6V71 or 8V71 in both NNT versions. And finally, number 7, top speed was often geared for 60 miles per hour. Whether you loved or hated its aesthetics, the AMGs were notorious for windows that rattled, structural problems, and body rot. The AMGs quickly received a reputation of being a bad bus. On the flip side, however, these vehicles were very powerful and could haul full standy loads at higher speeds, had good handling in snow, and excellent visibility for both driver and passenger. AMG never put much money into the Metropolitan bus design, as it was the prime supporter of the Federal Transbus project, which was supposed to develop the transit bus of the future. General Motors and Rohr were also part of the project, but neither company wanted to mass-produce the Transbus. Instead, they wished to build a hybrid bus that utilized aspects of Transbus along with already proven technology. This resulted in the GM RTS and Grumman Flxible 870, which were called Advanced Design Buses, or ADB. Only AMG refused to build an ADB and wanted to go full steam into the Transbus design. Shirley Cohen, a marketing executive at AM General in the 1970s, gives some insight as to why AM General stopped building buses.
As the Transbus project became bogged down in government red tape, AM General saw the project fading away and had no ADB design ready for production. By 1977, federal policies were changing to favor the advanced design buses, and AM General was losing orders to properties that wished to purchase the new hybrid designs. A decision was made to exit the bus business, and the last diesel Metropolitans were produced in 1978.
Additionally, a derivative of the Metropolitans were the Flyer E800 and 10240-T trolleybuses, which used its body design. A total of 676 were built for 5 U.S. systems until 1979. To say that AM General should not have produced buses would be an improper statement. In the approximately 4 short years that they were in the bus business, they hit both GM and Flxible hard. A total of 5,212 Metropolitans were built for an astounding 61 transit systems, both large and small. The overall design of the AMGs was acceptable, if not a good one. However, the time and effort put into perfecting the design was unfortunately very much lacking. And so there it is, the story of the AM General Metropolitan, America's third-place, third-rate transit bus of the 1970s. Now, when you compare the AM General Metropolitan to, let's say, the Flxible New Look bus, which was in second place, Flxible built 13,121 buses between 1960 and 1978, while AM General built 5,212 buses between 1974 and 1978. Which means that AM General actually built more buses per year than Flxible, which is really amazing because AM General has such a bad reputation for building buses, and you wouldn't think that they actually built more buses per year than Flxible. So, what do you think of the AM General Metropolitan? Do you like the design? Do you not like it? And if you are from the US and if you lived in a city that had the Metropolitan, what did you think of it? Especially if you do remember riding it, because it would be very interesting to hear. So, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look at the AM General Metropolitan Transit Bus of the 1970s. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Bye.